The number of calls to Scotland's Energy Advice Service has more than quadrupled in a year, with people reaching out for help amid rising costs. Advice Direct Scotland, which runs the National Advice Hub, has received around 370 calls per day throughout December, up from an average of 80 during the same month in 2021. We'll hear from Advice Direct Scotland in a few minutes, but let's remind ourselves of the human cost of surging bills. Claire Steele's daughter is disabled. She spoke to Drivetime back in August about her concerns for the winter.
I have 15-year-old twin girls, Holly and Katie, and Katie has very complex medical health needs and requires 24-hour care. Katie has quadriplegic cerebral palsy and Katie doesn't walk or talk. She also has bulbar palsy, which means Katie has no swallow. And this has been from birth. So she requires, as I say, 24-hour care. Now that involves lots of medical equipment. We have relied and solely rely on medical equipment because Katie doesn't get fed and can't eat. She's fed via a tube that goes straight into her bowel, and that's fed via a feeding pump, and that pumps mils of high-calorie milk through to Katie's bowel. Through 16 hours from kind of tea time right through to the next morning. We have a suction machine, which is like a compact big hoover that we carry about, and that's with a tube as well that we have to then suction Katie's mouth and clear her airway to allow Katie to breathe.
So they're life-saving. I mean, they rely on this equipment.
I mean, this is life. This is what keeps Katie alive. This literally keeps Katie alive day to day.
To put it quite bluntly, Claire, that's a lot of equipment, and your concern is it's a lot of energy.
It's I can't, Fiona. I honestly can't tell you how much. This is keeping my daughter alive. That's only two pieces. That's not including Katie having her electric wheelchair. That's not including me using my chairlift in the house to get her up and down the stairs to her bedroom and back down to the living room again. It's not me using her bed, which is a profiling bed, which I need to be able to up and down, for changing height, for getting positions, for being able to get her out of bed. That's not including her bath chair that I need to use to be able to wash Katie. That's not including Katie's communication aids. I can go on and on about other equipment. I don't have a choice of not being able to plug these in charge constantly, Fiona. It's just not an option. It's not on the cards. It's just not on the table for us.
So tell me your concerns.
My concerns is how I'm going to be able to cope. My concern is how am I going to be able to keep Katie alive day in, day out, and not worry about how I am going to be able to pay my energy bills.
Just take your time, Claire.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just a reality.
Well, I caught up with Claire just before we came on air and asked her, was it as bad as she'd imagined?
Like to say that they were better, or I maybe worried or was so upset, when maybe we didn't have to be, but that's not the case, Fiona. So our monthly payments have more than doubled per gas, per electricity, and when I called for the first time, I called to say, this is obscene, this is too much, can we talk, can I kind of discuss, how this is. And they said, no, you can't, you have to pay us now what we tell you to pay per month. And if you can't afford that, then you have to be switched over to prepayment meters. And I said, I can't. That's not an option for us. I can't. And she said, well, if you can't pay what we're telling you to pay, that is your option. I don't know what's going to happen, come into kind of the new year, up to kind of March, when I think they're talking of increasing it again. I don't know what families like ours, the position we will be in. I really don't know what we're going to do, and that's just been really honest, and I'm not ashamed to say that, because I know there's going to be I'm getting emotional again, but I shouldn't. I don't think carers and parents like myself with a child or an adult in the house who's vulnerable should have to feel guilty and have to worry. I mean, I'll worry all the time about my daughter. She can't swallow. She can't eat. Katie's at risk of choking all the time, and I am more nervous about switching my heating on and how long it's on for than I am about anything else just now. That's not okay. That's not normal. And families and elderly people, people living and trying to live day to day shouldn't have to be feeling the guilt of heating your home and switching that wee button on.
And Claire, it sounds as though since we spoke in August, you've had to be a lot more careful with things in order to meet the bills for your daughter's equipment. What kind of things have you had to think about and do?
You're kind of watching when you're out shopping, cutting back on things, but even cutting back on shopping, it's still more than what you would pay because the prices of things in the supermarkets, just how much the prices of household items have also jumped up as well. So I don't know how many other people that you see going around the supermarket and you know what they're doing. You know that they're counting and they're adding up what that is. What are we on just now? What are we on just now? Will we put that back and we'll pick this one? We don't really go out and kind of socialise or do things like that anyway. So mainly I would say because of Katie, because Katie can't eat. And we've always had this kind of guilt feeling of, when you go out and everybody's eating in front of her and, it's just a thing. But you do try, as I say, with not switching on our gas, the heating as much, you're switching it on, heating up and then it's going off. And then you need to put it back on again, and it's that whole temptation of not doing it. But I can't not do it. I can't not charge her suction machine. I can't not charge her feeding pump. I can't not charge her chairlift. I can't not charge her wheelchair. I can't not charge her bed. I can't not charge her communication aid. I can't not charge the bath seat. These are all things. These aren't choices. This is life-saving equipment. There isn't really any scope or kind of leeway for things that are musts. These are necessities. These are kind of everyday things that Katie doesn't just need or want. These are things that she absolutely relies on.
And Claire, you've talked about the fact that it's always in your mind. It's at the forefront of your mind, the back of your mind. You're always thinking about it, how to juggle things so you can keep this lifelong equipment on. What kind of toll is that taking on you and the rest of the family?
I kind of thought I was able to hide it. I thought I was hiding it pretty well. We don't really discuss a lot of things in front of the girls. They're a bit older. They're 16 today. And that in itself's a miracle. We were told Katie wouldn't see a year, and my girls are 16 today, and I'm so proud of them, Fiona. That's a milestone that we never thought we would see. I'm not going to lose her now because I can't heat my house and charge her equipment. That's just not on the table. It was only weeks ago, and Holly had said, "Mum, are you not wanting to put the heating on? Are you okay? And I was like, what do you mean? And she said, oh, it's just, I know about, the stuff that's going on and the prices of things. And, I've heard you and Dad talking. And I just thought, my daughter, no child, however old they are, should have to ask their mum if they're okay and worried about putting the heating on because they're worried about the bills. That really, out of all of it, that really, really hurt me.
That was Claire Steele there talking about her disabled daughter and the lengths that she's going to make sure she can pay the bills. Listening to that was Colin Matheson from Advice Direct Scotland. Colin, good to have you with us. What were your thoughts listening to what Claire was saying there?
It's an awful situation that Claire and Katie are facing. A lot of similar situations that we're coming across where people are struggling to pay the bills and are worried about how they're going to be able to manage going forward, especially in situations like this and like that of Claire and Katie.
And Claire said to me that she thought there were other people out there who were experiencing similar things. You obviously are getting that as well. And the number of people asking for help was quadrupled. What are the main issues people are having, Colin?
We get a number of inquiries in relation to disputes with energy suppliers, issues getting through to energy suppliers, Also, Claire had spoken a bit about prepayment meters. We've also had quite a lot of inquiries about the energy bill support scheme. So that's the £66 and £67 a month that's being paid by the UK government. And so people are contacting us because it's either not been applied or they've not received the prepayment vouchers in the post. So the inquiries are many and varied, and like Claire and Katie's situation can be very complex as well.
And Colin, who is it that you're hearing from? Is it carers like we've just heard there from Claire, or is it a mixture? Is the elderly or single people, or who's coming to you for help?
It's a total mixture now. So people that prior to the energy prices increasing that we're getting by or managing are now finding themselves in an absolutely impossible situation where they can't afford to top up their prepayment meter or pay their next bill. So it varies. Different types of people as well. So we get support workers reaching out to us. One of the funds, we manage the Home Heating Support Fund on behalf of the Scottish Government, and we get a lot of referral partners contacting us from community organisations, local authorities. So it's right across the board now. What
kind of advice can you give them, Colin? Is there anything that can be done?
Yeah, so basically we would always advise if someone is struggling with their energy costs to reach out to their energy supplier in the first instance. So your energy supplier, most of them have signed up to the Energy UK Vulnerability Commitment, which is an agreement to uphold protections for certain groups of vulnerable people. So if a supplier has signed up to this, they'll not disconnect you from supply at any time of the year. If there are children under the age of 6 living in the home, or people that have medical conditions or other vulnerabilities, we would also recommend in this situation to sign up to Priority Services Register through the supplier, which can help in the event that power or gas is interrupted. If someone is struggling, like Claire had mentioned, she'd reached out to energy supply and hadn't got anywhere with it. EnergyAdvice.Scot, our team have access to suppliers' back offices, so we can look into cases on an individual basis and make referrals as well to the extra help unit in extreme cases where there are vulnerabilities demonstrated.
Just very finally, Colin, and that's useful advice to know, how desperate do you think people are now?
I think people just now, like Claire spoke about, it's not just energy costs that people are seeing, it's in the supermarket. And exactly what Claire said as well, you're walking around and you're seeing people counting it up in their head. What I would say is anybody at all that needs assistance or support should reach out to organisations like ourselves that can help. So we've got a kind of centralised website at advicedirect.scot. People can check out the services that we offer there. So we've got various different areas of support, such as debt and money, energy, and the Scottish Government's Home Heat Support Fund.
And the sooner the better, I presume, as well. Colin, thanks very much for being with us. Colin Matheson there from Advice Direct Scotland, and Claire Steele there just before Colin talking about her disabled daughter and the bills. The time is